What's good, people? Welcome to another episode of my Immigrant Diary, the channel where we talk about real immigration stories, the wins, the struggles, the confusions, and the glow ups. My name is Precious.
And my name is Wale.
So, Wale, today we're going to talk about a lot of interesting stuff, especially something about numbers. Numbers in the sense that many countries around the world, not just the US, have just decided to ask for more. To ask for more for people applying for immigration privileges like visas. Countries like Ireland, New Zealand, and even as far as Singapore have kind of just increased the cost of applying for their immigration benefits. It's crazy, you might say, but I think that maybe US have just kind of set the groundwork for everyone to do that. I know if we go around Europe, we'll find similar things that is happening as well. But Wale, what do you think about all of this?
Well, my first thought about it is that I think it's probably also related to inflation. A lot of countries, I don't think there's any country in the world that has not experienced like massive and also economically more or less devastating inflation since COVID, especially. And a lot of the prices of those things of applying for visas, they've not really changed it since then. So my initial thought is that that has a lot to do with why they need to increase fees at the very least, because things do cost more, processes do cost more. Now that also means that they have to pay the officers that are responsible for processing those things. So all of those costs do add to what they will pass eventually to the applicant. So that's the first step. But there are also other things that I'm seeing generally across the world where there is definitely demand for higher wages, even by the locals in whatever sector that they are. Besides, I think it's also directly related to inflation, but because the locals are also demanding higher wages, just the average price of things have just gone up. I can personally testify. I've definitely experienced it because I do go to the grocery stores a lot. When I initially moved to the US, $100 would buy me a lot of stuff, a lot of things at the grocery store. But now, it's almost like my cart is more or less half empty, like of what I used to be able to buy before. So I think that's a big part of it. That's my initial impression.
All right, I get you, Wale, but you know what? Let's start our day with this. The US H1-B visa lottery opens in March 2026. Now, the luck of the draw is officially over. What this means is, in the past, H1-B applicants were picked from a chance of luck, basically from a draw. But now, the new weighted level wage base has come up with a new structure where people are being categorized between level 1 and level 4, subject to the amount of the wage being offered. So the higher the wages, the higher the level. There's a minimum ceiling, which puts people at level 1. But for those who are going to be earning high income, they'll be at level 4. And what this means is that it increases their chances because they get multiple, like say, slots, for lack of another word, in the draw. And so, in essence, they get those who are level 4 will get like a 61% chance of being picked for the H1B visa lottery, while those who are on level 1 have like a 15% chance of being picked. But nevertheless, it's still a draw, right? So, while we can estimate the probability based on mathematical, based on statistics, right? But yes, until we see the outcome of the change for the first time, we would then have a base to begin to have the discussion or narrative of possibilities. But the fact is this: the new rule has changed, and this will take effect in March 2026.
Yes, when I first came across the news, for me, I thought it's a good thing, to be honest. Like I really, because you think about who needs H1B. Typically, they are highly skilled workers, and if you really want as a company, if you want a highly skilled worker that you believe is really going to make an impact in your company and really drive your sales or your revenue up, then you have to be willing to pay that person that much. So I remember we talked about this lady who's a data scientist, or is it AI engineer? I'm not sure exactly which one she was, that moved to moved out of the United States to London because she couldn't get an H1B. Typically, after you're done with school, you have like 3 years to apply for H1B to get something, a job, so that you can you might get a job, but you need to apply for H1B because it's based on lottery. Everyone cannot get it. Everyone has the same chances, whether you are going to be earning $200,000 or you're going to be earning $50,000. Everybody has a equal chance. So I think this is a really good one because it's going to keep people like her that the United States actually need highly skilled individuals like her in the United States. I'm looking forward to how it's going to turn out. I think that this is something that is going to also drive the there's a narrative that companies want to pay people that are bringing into the country low wages so that they can replace their high earning American citizens that they already have. Now, I think this is going to deal with that. Like if you're going to pay someone a low wage, you are likely not going to get that person in the country compared to a company that actually wants to pay a fair wage and also be able to have a company that actually has a genuine need to bring in a skilled individual instead of just we need to reduce our overhead expenses so that we can make more money and then we hire these other people for cheap while American citizens don't have an opportunity to the same job and they have the skills to be able to do it.
I can agree with you, Wale, 100%. You're spot on. I also think, in addition to that, this will lead to qualified and quality skills being brought into the US because with any company willing to offer high remuneration, that company is therefore looking out for the best candidates to, for them to file for the process. More than that, more to that, the cost of the H1B visa application has gone up. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars right now to apply for one person. So for you to apply for a candidate, for any organization actually to apply for a candidate, they're definitely going to be looking for a very good, very strong, and very experienced candidate and with great expertise. So I don't think any company is just going to go out there and just going to play games or just spend some money that will not yield the kind of result they are looking for. So I do 100% agree with you, and I think that this would be good for the United States economy and the United States and for the environment of just H1B visa process and visa applicants, and also for H1B people who are coming through that route. Exactly. All right. Moving on, right? The interesting thing about what we've been talking about, Wale, is that there's always a workaround for different skills, right? For different kind of people, if you're not a software engineer, if you're not an engineer, if you're not a technician or a technical, or you don't have a technical skill. One of the most interesting trend that has been for a long time and that will continue to be is the LPN, which is the licensed practitioner nurse. Now, that is one pathway that is different from the H1B because it's considered necessary. It's considered as a necessity in the US, where nurses coming through an EB3 visa is a different category set up for that niche because America needs nurses. And so if you are out there looking for, and you're a nurse and you're trying to come to America, this is one area you should be looking at. If you're trying to get a degree, you don't want to come to America to study, and you want to try and avoid being in that pool of H1B visa lottery thing, you can look at becoming a nurse as an opportunity, as another pathway, which might just be better for you. So therefore, hey, consider that if you're watching out there, consider nursing, licensed practitioner nursing, and even higher as a career path, to be able to get proper immigration benefits to be able to work and live in the US.
And one of the benefits of also this lane is there's registered nurse, which has a little bit more qualification than, but they also have what you call, let me look at the name correctly, licensed practical nursing. So that's an LPN license. So this one actually takes 12 months. So to study for, once you study, you can start, and the salary ranges, according to this article, is between 50K and 75K. So even while you're while you're working, typically what I would suggest that just make sure you are going to school to actually get your registered nurse license to be able to earn more. But this is a very, very good opportunity. If you, like my brother said, please take a look. We're going to leave the link down below. There is a lot of need in nursing, generally in the medical industry, but nursing is one of the industries where they have a lot of needs. Doctors are also needed, but nursing gives you the shortest pathway to becoming productive and becoming a professional in the United States, because there's just so much need. Actually, backing up a little bit, there's a huge need in the whole world. We also spoke about Canada in our last two podcasts, where they are creating special categories for doctors. Of course, like if you're also a nurse, you will likely be able to take advantage of that. They are focusing on physicians for now, but there will be other programs. I'm pretty sure in Canada there's also targeting nurses. The same thing is happening in Europe. There's a drive to just bring a lot of medical professionals into the country. So this is something that it's a competition in all the world, and it just puts you, if you're thinking about the career path, you are thinking about like what you should do as an immigrant. This is a very good opportunity for you to be able to sacrifice. Like, you know that after 12 months, you're going on a special visa. You're not waiting on the lottery. And I'm pretty sure like you'll be able to enjoy the job, and also just be free and enjoy the American dream. I would say that you can begin your pathway to the American dream.
Perfect, Wally. And moving on, I want to talk about something we already mentioned in our introduction when we talked about how many countries around the world are increasing the cost of applying for immigration benefits and work visas. And in view of that, I'm just going to call out the numbers because we say we're going to, we talked about numbers. So in Ireland currently, I always get sometimes I'm not sure how I pronounce it. Ireland has raised the general employment permit threshold to 36,000 euros from March 1st, 2026. So to be eligible for work visa in Ireland, you need to be at that threshold. In New Zealand, it jumped to 35 New Zealand dollar per hour, and which will kick off from March 9th. You know the crazy thing about New Zealand situation, even pet groomers and nannies are being reclassified as lower skilled, making visa harder to get.
Wow.
And that's
I actually understand nannies, pet groomers. I'm trying to understand, because for nannies, usually like if you're a working family, like if your husband is working, if the wife is working, you actually need a nanny to be able to take care of it.
Nanny, yes. I mean, yes. And so it's expensive now. More expensive, rather.
That's what makes it a lot more expensive. But then you also have category of pet groomers that typically you'll be able to afford it, whether it's a dog or dogs or cats or whatever pet that you have, like typically affordable.
It's very similar in need, Wally, because think about it. There are people who have pets who do not have kids, and they have to go to work, and many of them will take their pet to boarding and also to have them groomed and kept. So some of these, not everyone can be a pet groomer. Not everyone, and not anybody off the street can just be a pet. Also, not anyone and everyone can just be a nanny. They have to go through background check. They have to go through security check and all that. And for pet groomers, they have to be trained to be able to take care of pets. And so it is now expensive. And because in a country like New Zealand, people move into the country to become nannies. People move to the countries to be pet groomers. Among others, depending on where you're speaking from, semi-skilled or skilled labor. But nevertheless, these have been reclassified as lower skilled, which is going to make it difficult because they were not initially classified as lower skilled. They were low skilled in terms of their requirement, but now lower skilled means it's even more difficult to get people into the country to be able to fill those gaps. So that's really what has happened, right? Then also, as far as all the way to Singapore, their S-Pass minimum is hit $3,600. So what this means is if you're negotiating a contract, if anyone is negotiating a contract in Singapore to go work, person needs to be looking at the numbers, looking at the new requirement for minimum pay, minimum income to be able to qualify for the visa. And the hard part about the Singapore situation is even those who have valid visa right now are required to meet the new requirements. So it's not like you've been in Singapore, you've escaped. You're not. No, this new rule, has been. Will I say is it backdated? Is the way they call it when there's a term for it when a new rule is put in place.
Propagated is what the word you're looking for.
I don't want to say prorated is forward. I'm trying to look for the word that says propagated. Okay. And so in essence, anybody in the country right now who is under this category have to ask their employers to increase their wages for them to qualify to renew their visas. And this is just a few of the countries that have kind of increased the cost of immigration benefits, work visa benefit. And this is not only a country, the UK, for instance, they're constantly discussing about, the timeline for people to be able to acquire their permanent residency in the UK. Right now, UK is trying to stretch it. It was initially 5 years, trying to stretch it to 15 years. There's discussion to make it 10 years. There's discussion to make it 7 years. It's like just a lot of immigrants who have moved to the UK, for instance, are kind of just in the cloud, not setting where to land, And so I just think a lot of the countries around the world are just following suit, and everybody is kind of applying the reciprocity to some of the prices of being added to visa application around the world.
Yeah, in general, I think it's a good thing. Because like I mentioned earlier, if you are just thinking about inflation and you are paying the same wages that you are paying like 10 years ago, the same wages that you're paying 10 years ago, immigrant, you might not understand what it means if you're coming from outside the country, that the wage that you're going to earn is actually not really a livable wage. So I think it's great also for immigrants that they are increasing this minimum the minimum salary or earnings for an expat wherever they want to bring them from. It's a really good thing that you have to hit a minimum so that people who are moving to whether it's New Zealand, Singapore, or Ireland, they are able to actually live well on the income that they are actually going to get. And it also directly also affects the local citizens, because if you're going to be paying people who are coming into the country a higher wage, navigate and take advantage of loopholes to get cheaper labor. So I think it's good for everyone all around. But it's fascinating that this is just happening all over the world. We're talking about the US. It's happening in Ireland, which is Europe, Singapore, Asia, and New Zealand, which is basically out of the way of every other continent. It's happening all over the world. So I think we are going to continue to see more of this from other countries. This is something that's definitely going to help immigrants a lot. I know that we talked about some countries might definitely be making it easier. Usually that will happen in a country where they already have a very high wage for immigrants. So it makes sense for them to reduce it when they actually need more people, more professionals in their country. But in most countries where the wages have not really caught up with inflation, I think this is a really good thing.
Yeah, Wally. And moving on, we have to talk about something closer to home, right? In Chicago, we just lost a hero, 16-year-old Ofelia Torres. She fought stage 4 cancer while her father, Ruben, was detained by ICE last October. She spent her final months advocating for him. Just 3 days before she passed away in February, just before Valentine's, a judge ruled that her father was entitled to stay in the US because of the extreme hardship her family faced. She watched the ruling over Zoom. While it is a tragic story, very, painful to think about, that family. And I cannot imagine because I cannot imagine what it is, what the father will be feeling right now. Even though a judge has, ruled that the father should be allowed to stay in the US, he did not make it home before the daughter passed. And this is pretty sad, Wale.
Yes, it's definitely difficult. It's a difficult situation. My condolences to the family. It's never a good thing to lose a child. As someone who has lost family member, even though I've not lost my child, it was very, very painful. I'm sure you can also relate to Precious. It can be very challenging to not be able to be there for them. And for this father who apparently, is in a country illegally, and it was being work processed to be deported out of the United States. So this is one of those that I really I wish the system worked better. I wish, it was able to be there on time. It was, and his situation was able to be processed a lot more quickly than a typical person that's, they don't really have any difficulty. You can just pick them up, and they can take some time in processing, but that's a normal process. But for situations like this, I hope we can come to a place where someone like this can be expedited through the process to go and see their daughter. May she rest in peace. Again, my condolences to the family. And I really, really hope that we can improve the immigration process to take account and really help families like this.
Yeah, Wally, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's amazing how, people get caught up in the system. I know we talk about it often, about how, systems that are designed cannot be really perfect. There's no way for a system to really be perfect, Wally, for sure. Systems that might be favorable for one set might not, might not turn out the same for another set. It's a tough one, like this, like the Ofelia Torres story. It's one of those things that you look at it and you say, how do you table, human consciousness, human, decency? Because sometimes it's a very conflicting situation, these things, bring about. Because when I'm sure that Ruben was held, without knowing the backstory of his family, is he in America illegally? ICE holds him, is being processed for deportation. Then boom, the story comes up. The daughter is struggling. She's struggling with stage 4 cancer. Well, the process, the same system, right? To try and find the balance, or get a judge, get a court order, get a judge involved. The judge look at the situation and say, this is a peculiar situation. This is an American child who needs a father at this moment. You cannot take the father away because of the hardship it will bring on the family. One system, how you don't see battle of systems. One system has helped to say, what, this is the better way to go about it. But you see, there's a due process in all of this, and that's where who do you blame? Do you get what I'm saying? Because there's a process in all of this, and due process must actually fulfill its purpose. Is in this due process, I believe, this father was unable to be there, for the last moments of his daughter. So these are the things that can happen, but systems are required to be put in place. Otherwise, there'll be chaos everywhere. And
exactly.
Which is the hard truth. We would wish that this was handled differently, or otherwise, but this is the reality of systems, and there is no perfect system. But then something interesting. While ICE, targets criminal, and also the USCIS tightens marriage interview, one of the things that's come up recently is how USCIS have tightened the marriage-based interview. What do I mean? It has come to light that people who are filing for marriage-based immigration benefits, USCIS will now go and verify and check what they said when they first came into the country at the port of entry, so the time they are applying for immigration benefit through maybe be married to a US citizen. Now, honestly, Wale, I am conflicted about this, and I don't understand it, because why is what they said about when they first came into the country? Of course, most people come to the country legally with a visa, came either for whatever reason, tourism, business, athletes, sport, entertainment, temporary visas, right? And for whatever reason they stayed, they found love, XYZ, and they're going to get married, and blah, blah, blah. And now USCIS is taking whatever was recorded at the port of entry for the first time when they first got into the US, to be able to influence the process of awarding them this immigration benefit. I honestly think that's just, I don't know how to think of. So personally, I don't want to talk about my personal view of it, but I want to talk about the process. Well, there's a process that says in this immigration benefit application process, it states that all of whatever whatever made you overstay your visa, whatever prevented from returning, as long as they have followed the due process in applying for immigration benefits, which means they got married to a US citizen or whatever other category for the most part, for the sake of discussion, they got married to a US citizen and they apply for a green card or they apply for immigration benefits, or it's like all their sins are forgiven. Do you get? That is the constitution. That is the law. So this process I'm kind of conflicted about this process, but let me hear your thought.
Well, I don't understand what if I understand correctly, did the person this is my understanding. The person actually came in based using a CR1 or not?
So there are different category of people that can apply for these benefits.
This story that we're talking about.
So you're talking about a situation of a person that came in with a tourist visa and stayed overstayed their tourist visa, which was similar to the story we talked about the other day about the Irish man that was arrested when he was applying for his green card benefit. That's a similar, that's a very similar incident.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of let me just put a disclaimer out there. I'm not sure if the executive branch has flexibility in how they interpret or how they apply the law, the Immigration and Nationality Act in this case. This is something that I'm starting to see, that there's a lot of things that I understood to work in a certain way, but with the current administration, it's different. So, for example, if you overstayed your visa, previously if you have overstayed your visa and you do get married, even if you didn't overstay your visa, but you do get married, you're on the line to be able to apply to you get a work visa, your work permit, and then while your green card is being processed. Now, that's the process as it used to be, but it looks like the current administration is looking at it in a different way. Now, I'm also not unsure if the current if it is enough for the current administration if you do overstay your visa, although you are now trying to get your legal document, but you did overstay your visa. I'm not sure if that's enough for you to go through a different process. So I'm going to put out those disclaimers out there. But as far as what you said is concerned, what you said at the border is concerned, I think as an investigator, as someone who is working probably HSI as Homeland Security investigation under that's under the immigration enforcers. So if you are investigating this kind of case, then you want to, or if you're trying to interview someone for a marriage situation like this, one of the things that you want to verify, you really want to verify if that person first is who they say they are. Then second is, are they trustworthy? Are they honest? Is it that they forgot something when they said something previously, or is it that they are lying about different things? So those are the things that you want to confirm. For me, I'm not surprised that they are doing this as thorough as possible, mostly because from what we've seen, we have been talking about this for a while now. The current administration is really toughening up anything that has to do with immigration. For example, they've started requiring students' social media handles. They've banned or suspended in some countries. So those are things that are consistently been happening under the current administration. Is it troubling? Yes. I definitely agree that it's troubling, it's concerning, but is it surprising? No. But this is where, as if you're watching our channel, you should all be as proactive as much as possible. I would, in my opinion, gone are the days where you would just go through this process just thinking that, because you are doing the right thing, the things will work out. Right now, even if you try to do the right thing, from what we have seen of some stories so far, like, you can definitely get in trouble with immigration enforcers. So that is something that I really I hope as one of our viewers that you really keep in mind, and you do keep to heart that this is the United States is no longer the way it used to be as far as immigration is concerned. And now the question is, what are your own responsibilities? How do you make sure that you don't fall into any kind of situation that will make life difficult for you, whether you are already in the United States or you are coming from outside the United States.
Yeah, Wally, thanks for sharing that. In addition, just for clarification, the marriage-based visa in this category, in this case, is when people are trying to adjustment of status, right? For those, in this, like for the sake of discussion, in this case of someone who's coming to the US with a tourist visa or that category of visa, temporary visa, and they've stayed and not gone back. Now, the USCIS is beginning to go back to, like I said, what they said when they first came into the CBP officers at the point of entry, to basically weigh if there was a preconceived motive to move into the US and never go back. But which is so back to what I said, in the system or in the constitution, the US citizen has the right to marry from wherever from. You get what I'm saying? And can apply for adjustment of status for that individual. The thing is, the USCIS will consider criminal record, is the person, like you said, the person who they say they have, do they have any criminal record? Do they have any interest that's against the interest of the US government or the US as in sovereignty and all of those stuff to be able to determine whether this person will be, granted this immigration benefit or adjustment of status. And so for this reason, the person qualifies because on paper, a person married to a US citizen qualifies to adjust the status while they're in the US. But there are exceptional cases where people can be denied and delayed. That is the situation that I'm seeing. With the adjustment of status, the USCIS is going to likely hold back, because they are going to say or claim that people are coming to the country with a preconceived intention to stay, find somebody, get married, and apply for immigration benefits. Am I making sense to you, right?
I don't think we can say they are going to hold back. We don't know what they are thinking.
No, but that's what this story is about, because that's what it's. Because if you're going to go back to say, you said on the port of entry that you were only here for 2 weeks, and now you've been here 20 years, and now you're applying for change of status. And does that? I'm saying whatever happens, the USCIS will decide. But that's where this discussion is leading to. That's what it's about, because that's what has been said. That's what has been heard, and that's what is coming from different sources close to the situation with the USCIS right now.
Yes. Well, I generally speaking, I do think the Trump administration, they do, like I said earlier, this is something that they've become very tough on. So if that toughness means that they are looking into people a lot with a lot more detail, if you're doing an adjustment of your status, then this is something that we should come to expect. This is the way I'm thinking about it. I want to be a lot more proactive about this kind of situation, instead of waiting for things to happen to me. If you're a lot more proactive with this kind of situation, you can deal with it a lot better, whether it's consulting an immigration lawyer even beforehand, making sure someone is making sure that all your files, your paperwork is correct. Obviously, don't have any criminal record, and you have a much better chance. I still think that, regardless of these new developments, as long as you are in line with the law, eventually you're going to get it. Now, it might be delayed, but eventually you'll be able to get, whether it's a green card they are applying for or any other kind of visa, you'll be able to get it. This is what I truly.
All right, then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this episode, and please like our channel, please subscribe, and stay tuned as we bring you more beautiful and interesting content. And yep, over and out from me.
Yes, have a nice one, everyone. We will see you in the next one.
All right then.